People are talking about JK and his new Instagram account, with many saying that he might potentially get banned for something if he is not careful. And then there are people who are talking about JK being seen with a lover and what that is about. And then we have to talk about performing and people calling out laziness. So hey dumplings, it's David Desai. Let's get into it. The first thing that we have to talk about is people attacking or mocking Jennie from Blackpink for her alleged laziness. And I know this is mostly a BTS channel. Most people are interested in BTS content, but we have to talk about this as a phenomenon that exists and why they exist with any performer. And this is something that I think the boys would get clocked for as well. So I think it's very important and I want to address it. A lot of people within the BTS community are attacking Jennie specifically because of a recent performance that she did, apparently in front of BTS, with many people asking if this was the performance that they invited the BTS members to see. So did the boys go and see it, and the end result was something that the community was not satisfied with. So during a recent performance, it was where all of the girls were dancing, and it seemed like Jennie stopped dancing, and it looked like she was trying to get back into it, and then she just couldn't get into it. She didn't really sing either, and she just overall stood there, and a lot of people are attacking her because she has an alleged history of being lazy. It seemed Rosé looked over at her for a second, Jennie gave her a smile, and it seemed as if they understood what was going on. There was obviously something wrong here, right? To jump to the conclusion that Jennie was lazy is a conclusion that you can jump to, but it's a lazy one. It's one that requires no nuance. It's one that you can just automatically jump to. And it's one that you can do without having any understanding of the industry or anything that happens in general. And it's one that is uneducated, for lack of a better term. Really dumb, in my opinion. People went to her defense to say that she had lost her in-ears and didn't know where she was in the song, and she couldn't sing, she couldn't dance. And a lot of people are really not understanding how important in-ears are. Now, if you're unfamiliar with in-ears and how important they are to a performer, they are essentially their ears. If you try to close your ears or wear noise-canceling headphones, you'll very quickly realize you sound even worse than you normally do, because I'm assuming most of us can't sing. Because you can't hear yourself to correct yourself. You also don't know what part of the song you're at. And the way a lot of concerts work is the speakers are facing the audience, and sometimes there's no speakers on the stage or facing the stage. The artist can't hear their own music. The beat when it's coming in, the chorus when that's coming in, when the verses, all of that stuff needs to be heard, obviously, and can only be heard through the in-ears. They don't actually always play the track, though, on the in-ears. They have a click track where sometimes it's just a click sound to give you the beat. So for dancers, that's really helpful. For singing, you know when you're on beat, like for rapping and all that stuff. So that's really helpful. They'll even say 3, 2, 1 chorus and all that stuff, and you know exactly when to come in. So if you wanted to Google that and check that out, you can actually hear a little bit of how crazy that sounds. Now, all of that, of course, is totally possible. Like, that could be something that she was struggling with and that she just didn't know when to come in and it just didn't work, right? But in my opinion, it didn't seem like that. Performers have something called a white room. This happens to the best of them. This happens to pretty much anyone ever. This is basically a state of confusion that you can go into. I mean, a real state of confusion that doesn't happen when you're out in public normally. We're talking like a very strange feeling. We're talking about not knowing where your lines are, not even knowing where you're at anymore, like a real amnesia into your head, and not knowing your cues and not knowing how to dance, not knowing what comes next, just completely blanking out as if you just had amnesia. Comes with stress, comes with working really hard, and every artist deals with it differently on stage. Some artists will just blank out for a second and then kind of fake their way through. What a lot of artists will do is if they don't remember lyrics, they will kind of have the audience sing it. They'll pretend to do that, or they'll pretend to be like a sexy model on stage. This, of course, is a lot easier for a solo artist because then you can just let your backup dancers do the dancing. You kind of just pose or do whatever on stage and then get out of the white room whenever you get out of it. Of course, this is just my opinion from looking at it and seeing what it could be. I actually have no idea what it is. This is all alleged. But this is extremely normal. This is something that happens to every artist, and it's not something that's bad. It just happens. You can rehearse for 10 hours a day, 30 hours a day. Some people just get it more often. She, in my opinion, looks like she's not fully aware of what's going on. And again, that's more of a concern that we should be worried about for her rather than saying that she's bad at her job or being lazy. I like to approach things with empathy rather than attacking someone. From the looks of it, to me, she really seems annoyed that she can't seem to remember what was going on, and right towards when she had her solo and she picks up the mic again, she probably started to remember exactly what she needed to say or do. I mean, Jesus, they perform constantly when they're on tour and they have to go nonstop. Who knows how much sleep they're getting, how much they're eating and all that stuff. I know some people are going to come at me to say, oh, it's just her in-ear, she couldn't hear all that stuff and blah, blah, blah. But I honestly don't believe that, because at certain points points during the performance, she is looking at the other 3 girls dancing. So if she just couldn't hear herself, she would have picked up the choreography just by looking at her bandmates dance. But the fact of the matter is, she didn't remember any of it. She just completely blanked out. So in my personal opinion, I'm more so concerned about her and more so concerned about what it could be rather than someone that is looking at it as a way to attack. If you're part of the BTS community, please don't use this as a reason to attack the girls. They're human. We all know that the BTS boys also like the girls very well. Switching gears a little bit, JK recently launched his Instagram account, and this was very exciting to people. He deleted his previous Instagram account and then opened one with his dog, and I guess now has to decide to open his solo account back up again. But this time he named the account MNI Jungkook. This caused a lot of controversy as some people were trying to figure out what the meaning of this was, because typically when he puts like letters and usernames, he typically has a meaning. So for example, his previous Instagram account, he had the alphabet and he just excluded J and K from it. So people were trying to figure out if M and I meant anything. Some people came to the conclusion that it actually had something to do with Winter from aespa. Shocker. First of all, if you didn't know, Winter's legal name is Min Jiang. So some people believe that the letters had been mixed around to say Min Jiang, but instead say Min Jungkook. So just switching the N and the I, right? Other people believe that during the very, very early parts when the account was launched, JK made his username say I'm Jungkook, but instead of deleting it all together and just coming up with a completely different name, he decided just to scramble the letters and added another letter to just confuse people and make it seem like I'm was never the intention of his username. And because it's such a subtle change, people who see it might feel like that was always what it was, right? So it's like a gaslighting technique that people are saying, right? And Winter's username is I'm Winter, and people think that he was inspired by it or trying to copy that. But this is for some reason evidence of dating. However, no one can confirm that because the first few people who had followed JK and his new Instagram account never mentioned this specific username. And it's always been MNI. And I also don't have a time machine and I wasn't there during the hour that the account dropped, so I have no idea what the username was before all of this and if it changed to begin with. Some people say that this is all a rumor, that they were together. Of course, this is all just stuff that is speculation. Even if JK had the intention of creating the same username as Winter, that would only mean that he admires that username. Doesn't mean that they're together or anything like that. He can take inspiration from anybody. Some people are also talking about how they appreciated JK deleting his initial Instagram account and not only was surprised, but kind of didn't want JK to open his own personal Instagram account again. This requires a lot of controversy, and every time the members have their own account, it gets a lot of controversy. However, this is not what the main issue is today. People are simply talking about the fact that JK might post something that he shouldn't. So obviously, if he is posting pictures of his dog, he's never going to accidentally post something that's going to cause a scandal, because these are just pictures of his dog. But if he has his own Instagram account and he has to post his own selfies, he might end up posting something that is either a naked picture or a picture with something in the background that is inappropriate. So sometimes it's not good for celebrities to have that much access to their community, because the community doesn't always have the best intentions or the best mindset when it comes to these things. Of course, not everybody, right? Just the select few sour apples. But as you know, these select few people often go viral for things that they say that aren't exactly the best things. Personally, I think this is a way to promote the members coming back, and this will be one of the ways that JK and the other members are going to start to post content related to the comeback. If not direct content that's related to the comeback or the music, then it's just going to be content that's going to eventually push more people to look at the comeback. I personally believe it was the label or the PR team saying, hey, you should open up that account again, but just a theory, who knows what actually happened. Let me know what you think. Make sure to check out Patreon for more videos, linked down below. Thank you to this lovely comment right here. Love you, bye.